It's finally here. The Super Bowl for election nerds, the Olympics for politics junkies, the day that will set the course for the next 4 years of American history, for better or for worse. Election day is upon us. I've made videos about candidates, conventions, swing states, and polls. It only makes sense to make a video about what I'll be paying attention to on Tuesday night, clutching a cocktail like an IV drip, as we all collectively watch those votes trickle in. And don't worry, I'll make a final map prediction at the end, so stick around. If you haven't already, the most important of my videos that you can watch before Election Day, besides this one, is the one about polling and the one about swing states. I'll link them down below and in the end screen card. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's touch on some of the less covered stuff that you'll want to pay attention to on Tuesday night. It would be hard to know this based on media coverage alone, but there are seats in the House of Representatives up for grabs during this election, and Trump's unpopularity is making it pretty difficult on Republicans. Democrats actually have a real chance to expand their House majority. In this election, there are 36 seats that we can expect to be in play. 10 of them lean Democratic, 12 lean Republican. 14 are toss-ups. I'll be paying closest attention to Virginia's 5th, New Jersey's 2nd, Oklahoma's 5th, and Indiana's 5th. If Democrats take those, then they'll likely have expanded their House majority to at least 240 seats. It's looking like the best case scenario for Republicans is to shave Democrats' majority by 3 seats or so. And the best case scenario for Democrats is to expand their majority to 256 seats. I want to focus for a moment on Nebraska's 2nd district. This is a district that voted +2 for Trump in 2016, +7 for Romney in 2012, but +1 for Obama in 2008. They had a Democratic representative from 1989 to 1995, and they elected another in 2014, but then they elected Republican Don Bacon in 2016, and he won re-election by 2.1 points in 2018. His challenger in 2018, Kara Eastman, is going after that seat again. She's a Justice Democrat-backed progressive who beat 2 different DCCC challengers in 2018 and 2020, and the National Democratic Party needs to start paying attention to this. Sure, there are districts where more moderate candidates like Joe Cunningham in South Carolina or Ben McAdams in Utah are our best bet. But there's no rule that says that moderate candidates will perform best in purple districts. If voters in a purple district are telling us that they want more progressive ideas, we should listen to them. All in all, it would take a freak event for Democrats to lose the majority in the House. It's not at all out of the realm of possibility that they could expand their majority to 250 plus seats in this election. But it's also not at all out of the realm of possibility that their majority could drop below 225 seats. But that's enough about the House. Let's move on to the Senate. This is where things start to get interesting. Democrats have a very solid chance of taking control of the Senate. If they do, then they will likely have taken control of the White House, and then they'll have unified government. I really hope that I get to make a video about what they should do after that, but let's go over these races first. There are 35 seats up for grabs. 23 of them are held by Republicans. Of those 23, 10 are safe, 5 lean in their direction, and 3 are toss-ups. 12 of the seats up for grabs are held by Democrats. Of those 12, 8 are safe, 5 lean in their direction, and 4 are toss-ups. If we're doing the math, that's 7 toss-ups. If either party wins 4, then they have the majority. In North Carolina, the last A-plus polls were conducted by Marist College on October 30th and had Democrat Cal Cunningham +10 over Republican Tom Tillis. In Maine, the last A polls were conducted by Survey USA on October 30th and had Democrat Sarah Gideon +1 and +2 over Republican Susan Collins. Now, those Cunningham polls are outliers, and this Gideon-Collins race is starting to tighten, but these are the Democrats' best chances at winning toss-ups. In Kansas, the last A-plus poll was conducted by Siena College and the New York Times Upshot on October 22nd and had Republican Roger Marshall +4 over Democrat Barbara Bollier. In Montana, the last A-plus poll was conducted by Siena College and the New York Times Upshot and had Republican Steve Daines +3 over Democrat Steve Bullock. These are the Republicans' best toss-ups. Now, a lot of people have been focusing on that battle of the Steves, but if we're being honest with ourselves, Bullock has been playing from behind the entire time. In Iowa, the last A-plus polls were conducted by Siena College and the New York Times Upshot, as well as Monmouth University on October 21st, and had the race even. 2 showing Democrat Teresa Greenfield +2 and +6 over Republican Joni Ernst, and 1 showing Ernst +1 over Greenfield. This is about as pure as a toss-up as it gets. Neither party can feel truly confident about winning that seat. Then there's Georgia. Both seats are up in Georgia due to a special election that is needed to fill Johnny Isaacsen's seat that he vacated at the end of last year because of health concerns. The first seat is a normal election, but it's still a toss-up. The last A-plus polls were conducted by Monmouth University on October 28th and had Democrat John Ossoff +3, +2, and +1 over Republican David Perdue. That being said, Ossoff just went viral, wiping the debate floor with David Perdue, and Perdue subsequently canceled their last debate, so that one might be tipping further in Democrats' favor. The special election, however, is much more complicated. There are 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat running. Both Republicans, Doug Collins and Kelly Loeffler, have been competing for the base and have chased each other pretty far to the right in the process, leaving an opening for Democrat Raphael Warnock. If any of them get 50% of the vote on November 3rd, then they will fill the seat. However, the chances of that happening are slim to none. In the event that none of them exceed 50% on November 3rd, the 2 candidates who earn the highest percentage of the vote overall will face each other in a runoff election on January 5th. Warnock has taken advantage of Collins and Loeffler's apparent suicide pact, and the last A-plus polls conducted by Monmouth University on October 28th had Warnock +7 and +12 against Collins and +6 and +8 against Loeffler. However, we should expect these numbers to change between now and January. When all said and done, it's slightly more likely that Democrats will end up with a majority. The likeliest scenarios range from Republicans maintaining a 2-seat majority all the way to Democrats winning a 6-seat majority. The implications of either outcome, though, are just as severe as the implications of the last race we have to talk about, President of the United States. Let's start with how the states will play into the presidential race. There are 11 states to watch: Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wisconsin. Of these 11 states, 4 of them are likely to fall in Biden's direction: Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, and Wisconsin. None of them are polling favorably for Trump, which should tell you something, but 6 of them are toss-ups. The polling average for Arizona has Biden +3.1. The last A-plus polls were done by Monmouth University and had Biden +2 and +7. Florida is Biden +2.3. The last A-plus polls there were done by Monmouth University on October 29th and had Biden +5, +6, and +4. Georgia is Biden +1.6. The last A-plus poll was done by Monmouth University on October 28th and had the race Biden +5, Biden +4, and Biden +2. North Carolina is Biden +2.3. The last A-plus polls were done by Marist College on October 30th and had Biden from +5 to +6. Ohio is Trump +0.9. The last A-plus poll was done by Siena College and New York Times Upshot on October 7th and had Biden +1. Texas is Trump +1.2. The last A-plus poll was done by Siena College and New York Times Upshot on October 26th and had Trump +4. But I believe in you, Texas. It's really important to keep in mind that Biden is starting with 183 safe Electoral College votes, while Trump is only starting with 77 safe Electoral College votes. Not every competitive state this year is a tipping point state. Even though Biden is ahead in the polls in almost all of these competitive states, there could be a polling error that causes him to lose almost all of them, and he could still win the election. Because all he really needs to win are the tipping point states. And in my opinion, the true tipping point state, the one that will decide this election, is the only competitive state that we haven't talked about yet in depth, and it's the state that I will be paying the most attention to on Tuesday. It's Pennsylvania. Don't get me wrong, there are enough states in play that Biden could still win if he loses Pennsylvania, but the scenarios in which Biden loses become considerably more likely if he loses Pennsylvania, whereas it becomes all but impossible for Trump to win if Biden wins Pennsylvania. The polling average has Biden +5.1. The last A-plus poll was done by Muhlenberg College on October 23rd and had Biden +7. Barring any shenanigans, it looks like Biden's set to win the state. However, there are shenanigans abound in Pennsylvania. In 2016, the polls in Pennsylvania were off by 4.4, so Trump would either need the average to drop between now and Tuesday, or he would need a larger polling error than he had in 2016 to win. Not that much larger, though. Pennsylvania looks really unprepared to count the higher than usual number of mail-in ballots that they will receive, and there has been multiple court cases bouncing around regarding what can disqualify a mail-in ballot and what the cutoff for sending in mail-in ballots will be. Republicans control the state legislature in Pennsylvania, and Republicans do not like it when it's easy for you to vote. But what if Biden loses Pennsylvania? What if Biden loses any of these toss-up states? Well, let's take a look. For the sake of time, let's say that Biden wins all of the states that are leaning in his direction. Frankly, the shakiest among those are Wisconsin and Nevada. Nevada isn't all that tethered to other states. Biden can win without it. But if he loses Wisconsin, then we're in black swan territory, and all bets are off. So this is the map we start with. As you can tell, things aren't looking good for Trump. But that's the state of the race, despite how it might feel. The first of these states that will probably be called on Tuesday is Texas. Now, if Biden wins in Texas, we're probably looking at a sweep the likes of which we haven't seen in a very long time. We'd be looking at a Biden victory of between 381 and 454 electoral college votes, a potential bloodbath, total domination. And remember, again, I'm pulling for you, Texas. But let's say that the polls hold and Trump wins Texas. His hopes are still alive. The next state to be called would usually be Ohio. However, with the increase in mail-in voting this year, there's a good chance that Ohio doesn't get called on election night. But let's just say that it does. If Biden wins, he wins. The fallout obviously isn't as bad for Trump, but we're still looking at a Biden victory of anywhere between 300 and 414 electoral college votes. But again, let's say the polls hold and Trump wins Ohio. Next up is Florida. Again, if Biden wins, he wins by between 299 and 371 electoral college votes. If Trump wins Florida and has won Texas and Ohio, then his chances of winning the election start to improve. It becomes more likely in this scenario that he might win Arizona and or North Carolina. It's still unlikely that Trump wins with these 3 wins alone, but let's carry on. After Florida is North Carolina. If Biden loses the first 3 but wins North Carolina, the only way that Trump can win is if there's a faithless elector situation. But we're looking at a Biden win of anywhere from 275 to 322 electoral college votes here. If Trump wins North Carolina, then he's much more likely to win Georgia as well, but he'll still need to win Arizona or Pennsylvania. But what if he does? In a normal election, Georgia would be next, but like Ohio, we might not get these results on election night. A Georgia win for Biden is almost identical to the scenario in which he wins North Carolina. He wins by 276 to 325 votes here. If Trump wins, his odds have crept up a bit more. However, now we're looking at the tipping point. Pennsylvania. Like Ohio and Georgia, we might not get Pennsylvania's results on election night, but if we do and Biden wins, he wins. Faithless electors are basically Trump's only shot there unless he has somehow managed to pull an upset elsewhere in the Rust Belt while losing Pennsylvania, which would be weird. If Biden wins Pennsylvania, we're looking at a 280 to 309 electoral college vote victory. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, the game is on. Keep in mind that we will probably know the results of Minnesota and might know the results of Wisconsin before Pennsylvania, and those will give us insights into what to expect out of Pennsylvania. At the same time, we could get Pennsylvania before Wisconsin and Michigan, and this is where it gets interesting. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, then it is much more likely that he could win Wisconsin and or Michigan. If he wins either, then he probably wins the election. If Biden wins Michigan and Wisconsin but loses Pennsylvania and all of the states preceding it, then it all comes down to Arizona. And there you have it, your election guide for Tuesday night. I think it all comes down to Pennsylvania. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, then he's favored to win in the election. If Biden wins Pennsylvania, then he's certain to win the election. I predict that Biden will win one way or another. But this map shows my final electoral college prediction, just so you can make fun of me for it later. Now remember, a Donald Trump victory is not out of the question. It's entirely possible that he could upset the polling. Stranger things have happened. But the next time you hear from me, we'll probably know. Thanks for watching. I hope you feel more prepared for Tuesday after this. Let me know in the comments what your predictions are. Also, let me know what you'll be drinking. I'll see you on the other side.